You will not leave my soul in trouble.
Evan Silva is a new man. He's felt that way for 23 years. He's the pastor of the Harbour City Christian Church. Or is it a cafe or what?
It's normally like this. We've got about a six-piece band, something like that plays here Sunday mornings at 10:30. Sunday night we do an acoustic thing, which is like an unplugged thing. I preach here, just go for it, you know, and leap off here.
Christianity wasn't always a part of Evan's life, but music has been. 6 months of PD as a teenager galvanised this soul man's commitment to the beat.
I could see that I was starting to get into trouble, and I knew if I didn't make a change, if I didn't swing around from here, I was just going to get deeper into it, you know. So music was the passion.
What was it about soul that captured your imagination?
I've never really worked that out. I mean, nobody in my immediate family are musical. I mean, that's weird for a starter. But I think the whole emotional thing, I don't know.
Was it an afro? Because you have an afro.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have one, then I'm growing it again, you know.
After stirring up the local scene, Evan and his band, The Action, blazed into Sydney.
Whiskey A Go Go, where we did our first audition, that was alive with GIs from Vietnam, just alive. So we got up and we were doing Reach Out, I'll Be There, Try a Little Tenderness, all this Motown soul music, and all the GIs, it was what they were listening to. So when we got up and started doing all the Reach Out, the place just went mad. They were roaring, screaming after every song. So the management just took us straight into the office afterwards, mate. There was no messing around. Boys, in the office, in the office. We signed a contract for 12 months.
What followed were some heady music highs and some wild times of damage. Then, seemingly out of character, godly intervention in the middle of the night in a Remuera flat.
Lights out, about 12 o'clock, or, you know, laying in bed. Carol says to me before we went off to sleep, "Hey, what do you think about this Jesus thing, you know?" And I said, "I don't know, what do you think?" And I prayed for the first time ever, mate, from the heart. And I said, "God, if you're real and you want us, then show us and we'll come to you." You know, that was it, mate. That was my prayer. No amen or, you know, finished. So I got these words out of my mouth, laying in bed, you know, like this. And instantly, as soon as I said it, it was like the room just filled up with this amazing atmosphere, And I had never felt anything like it.
Never one for the traditional church sound, Evan began to write his own music. Now on disc, he's again bearing his soul. 11 tracks of totally original work. Ain't no two ways about it.
Ain't no two ways about it.
It's not in your face, somebody saying, "Oh, you know, you heathen," or you know, it's just messages that are, you know, easy to digest with a really good band playing, you know, good feels, Motown-y, soul-y thing, you know.
And the painter on the race. Woo-hoo-hoo. I got to have you in my life. This I know I must confess.
You've sort of, you've had a number of sort of transitions in your period of life. Tell me about some of these sort of young bits. You got in a bit of trouble when you were younger. And
when I was a young fella, what actually happened was, well, I think this is how it came about. I had four sisters, right? And we moved house. All the sisters got married, and I was the young man, and I was left with mum and dad. So we had a big house. We had to move to a small house. Moved a few streets away, met up with a new crowd. And sort of the crowd that I met up with were just a little bit, you know, just a wee bit wild, you know. So I kind of ran with them and got myself into a bit of strife. And we used to hang around Mission Bay in those days, you know. That was the place. It's the place now, I think. But
it was a different place then.
Yeah, it was different. It was sort of happening, not like buzzing like now, but it was the place to be. And there's always people there. So yeah, got into a little bit of a tussle down there with a few guys, and I managed to be the one that got caught. And I did a thing that they called then periodic detention, and which meant they took your weekends away from you. Friday night you'd report, and into a big house in St George's Bay Road, and then you would spend the weekend in there, like hard labour.
So what were some of the things you were doing there?
Oh, I can remember being ordered to dig out some huge clay bank, you know, with a great big pick me and this other guy. Well, by the end of the day, mate, from about 6 in the morning, these hands were just blistered, you know, and just stuff like that. You'd have a duty, shower duty or something, or, you know, you'd have to clean the place and have to be perfect. My spot was the front porch, and up on the front porch, this kind of, this layered roof. I can't remember, it was sort of interlocking, sort of Nova sheety stuff, you know, and I had to remove all the fly dirt, you know, and so the commander would come up Sunday morning to check your job, you know, so run his finger along, and one little bit of fly dirt, a little bit of dust, the whole thing would have to be done again, which meant you couldn't get out on time Sunday morning, mate. You know, you'd have to stay on to it, you know. So I made sure, mate, I did mine right, because I was singing, I was just starting the music thing, and I didn't want to be locked away on the weekends.
So yeah, obviously, you know, it gave you more of a hunger for this music business.
Oh yeah, I wanted to, I could see that I was starting to get into trouble, and I knew if I didn't make a change, if I didn't swing around from here, I was just going to get deeper into it, you know. So music was the passion, so I figured, okay, I'll do this, won't talk to anybody, stay away from everybody. I mean, there's, you know, I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but there's stuff used to come in there at night, you know, and sneak in for the boys. I'd just stay, whoa, not for me, you know, and stay out of it. And it did. I thought, no, I'll go really straight here because music's the #1. That's the priority. So that helped me to kind of focus and stuff like that.
Why for music? Why was it soul that really had you? What was it about soul that captured your imagination?
I've never really worked that out. I mean, nobody in my immediate family are musical. I mean, that's weird for a starter. But I think the whole emotional thing, I don't know.
Was it an afro? Because you have an afro.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I had one then, I'm growing it again, you know. I mean, I'm of mixed blood. I'm Portuguese and French, and I think there's a little bit of Tongan or Samoan locked away in there somewhere, you know. So I'm a bit of a multicultural. So maybe it comes from that whole spirited thing, I don't know. But I heard it, and instantly, it was me. 6, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 99 and a half by Wilson Pickett. They were songs that were written for church even in those days, the old black guys, you know. But it was me, loved it.
But it took you to Australia, which was sort of where you thought you were going to crack it big. And
yeah, we did everything we could do here. We did we had held down 2 major residencies, the action in town. Top 20, which is still standing in Durham Lane, and the Galaxy, which was in Custom Street. So we held down residencies there. So we did all the come-on shows, had singles on the charts. They didn't do it awesomely, but, you know. And so we thought, well, we've done everything that we could do here, so we've got to make a move. So we went to Australia, went to Sydney, and moved into Sydney, lived in a hotel in King's Cross, which was absolutely, I mean, I've been back there and checked the place out, you know, I can't believe that we lived there. And in that hotel, all the bands lived there, all interstate bands. So it was like, whatever music you like, if you like Motown soul, there was a party in a certain room that had that flavour. If you were into rock, if you were into the Stones or whatever, or whoever was around, there was a party in that room for you, you know. So it was just that whole environment was just alive.
But it was pretty sort of wild too, wasn't it? I mean, you got in a bit of, well, yeah. I mean, was it pretty deep in?
Oh, we damaged ourselves. We damaged a lot of people. I mean, I'm still, you know, there's some people I still like to catch up with and say, I'm sorry, you know, because you know, I mean, I can just speak for myself. I did a bit of damage around the place, you know, and but it was a happening thing. It was a, you know, Whiskey A Go Go, where we did our first audition. That was alive with GIs from Vietnam, just alive. So we got up and we were doing Reach Out, I'll Be There, Try a Little Tenderness, all this Motown soul music, and all the GIs, it was what they were listening to. It was like, what's that program on Vietnam that was on a while back?
China Beach.
All that sort of stuff. It was that whole era, mate, but that was it. It was happening then, you know. So when we got up and started doing all the Reach Out, the place just went mad. They were roaring, screaming after every song. So the management just took us straight into the office afterwards, mate. There was no messing around. Boys, in the office. We signed a contract for 12 months with the owner of the Whiskey A Go Go, and we were into it.
What was it like? Because I mean, you were stars. You were stars.
Yeah. I mean, we were too blown away to kind of capitalise on it and milk it. I mean, we would get calls from the TV channels or whatever. They do things like blind date, you know, and they want us to go on blind date and all that sort of stuff. And we'd answer the phone and say, oh, sorry guys, haven't got our suits dry cleaned, no, you know, and hang up on them and all this stuff. We tossed away all these opportunities, you know. We just didn't want to sort of play the game. So we threw a lot of stuff away. But yeah, I mean, it was just happening. It was just alive. Different to kind of like now. It was just, the town was just buzzing with music. Clubs, there were just clubs everywhere. And all happening, all full, you know. Live music, good players, good music.
Why is it different now then? Why do you think it is different?
I don't know. I kind of, somebody said to me the other day, I won't drop any names, but this person said to me, it's like now there's too much music. It's like it's just overkill. It's like it's just so much going on, you know. Everybody's trying to kind of, you know, make it and cut some kind of groove, you know. And it's just maybe too much, and it's just become a bit familiar.
Is it because we can now, we all have CDs, CD players, record collections, everyone goes out and buys stuff, whereas perhaps, you know, 20, 30 years ago it wasn't quite so prevalent?
Yeah, maybe it's a kind of mixture of things, you know. I mean, there's not as many clubs out there happening as what there were. There are some happening clubs out there. I mean, I don't get out a lot, you know, now. But I mean, we took the reaction, which was the action relived, me and the bass player, and pulled in some younger guys. And that band was really, I mean, it's still going now. That is a happening band. We took that band around town, the Corner Bar, Java Jive. We used to get a lot of people, you know, the place would be full and pumping because we were doing all that music over again, you know. And so there are clubs out there that are happening, but it's still different. You know, I mean, you've got the drink drive thing, and you know, a lot of that kind of things kind of, you know, shut down.
A PC world, sort of, in that respect.
Yeah, you know, shut down a lot of things. You know, I mean, there's good about it, but there's some negatives about it as well. You know?
What made you go religious?
What made me go religious? I had a grandmother who was in her early 90s, she told me afterwards that she used to pray for me all the time, which I was unaware of. I had two sisters that became Christians. Not that I took a lot of notice of them, because I was a hardcore rebel, you know, big chip, resentful, arrogant, critical, hard-hearted, whatever. So one of them used to talk to me frequently, and I just sort of shut it down, and the old door would come up, you know, shut down to it. Two of the guys out of the action became Christians before I did. So I was afraid of them. I stayed right away from them, mate. My buddy, Jack, was working in a music shop, and I used to call him to get guitar strings. And he'd say to me, hey, Evan, come around for dinner. You know, you and Carol, my wife, you know, come around for dinner. And I'd say, yeah, you know, all the time, mate. I didn't want to go because I thought they'd get me in a room, you know, put a finger in my ear or something, you know, or do something, eh?
So you felt actually quite vulnerable.
Oh, mate, it was freaky, eh? I didn't want to go near it, mate. So I'm thankful that it didn't happen. It did not happen. There was nobody else involved in my conversion, you know, other than kind of like me and God, you know. And so I stayed away from that. And what happened was I was really dissatisfied where I was. I was getting really down about just life, where I was inside. Internally, I was really struggling. So what I did was, one night, myself and Carol, we were living in a flat in Remuera, and you know, we didn't believe in marriage, and you know, it was rock, people splitting up all around us. We thought, oh, that's a waste of time. But one night, laying in bed, mate, in this flat in Remuera, lights out, about 12 o'clock, or you know, laying in bed, Carol says to me before we went off to sleep, hey, what do you think about this Jesus thing, you know? And I said, I don't know, what do you think? She said, well, you know, there's kind of all this stuff happening. Because for 12 months, mate, stuff was happening all around us. Like, Carol would be working in town, the city. Somebody would walk up to her on the street, right out of it, mate, out of the blue, and say, do you know that Jesus Christ loves you? You know, so we would come home and compare stories, all the stuff that happened. Lay in bed this night, and I prayed for the first time ever, mate, from the heart. And I said, God, if you're real and you want us, then show us and we'll come to you. You know, that was it, mate. That was my prayer. No amen or, you know, finished. So I got these words out of my mouth, laying in bed, you know, like this. And instantly, as soon as I said it, it was like the room just filled up with this amazing atmosphere, And I had never felt anything like it. I'd been stoned. I'd smoked a lot of dope. I'd done coke. I'd blown my head off with acid. I used to take 2 caps of acid at a time, you know, just kind of, whoa, out there, you know. And so I'd done all that stuff, but I had never experienced anything like this before in my life. And it wasn't just out there, it was happening inside here. And so I lay there, I looked at Carol in the dark, you know, sort of white teeth and eyes, you know, and she's looking at me because she had blonde hair, you know, and she said to me, do you feel that? And I said, yeah. And we just drifted off to sleep, mate, in this amazing kind of atmosphere. Now, about 3 in the morning, around about 3 in the morning, I woke up. When I woke up, it was like somebody standing beside my bed. And I mean, I say today that was kind of like some kind of angel, you know. And so I woke up, there's this kind of person standing there. I reached out to touch this person, you know, this figure beside my bed. I just withdrew and went out through the door, mate. Just it was gone, you know. And the thing about it, in the old days at all our parties, there'd be different guys having seances and stuff like that, and I would never go near it. Didn't want to know about it, you know. So I wasn't as spiritually tuned in, or I wasn't wired to anything. So this experience for me was a first up, and the thing that stood out to me was when this happened, both of these experiences happened, I was not afraid. I was completely calm, eh? So when that happened to me, we had a number of other experiences, watching TV one night, sitting watching TV with my parents, and these people were getting baptized. I mean, I didn't choose the program. We just went round there for tea, and this was happening, black and white telly. These people are getting baptized, coming up out of the water, and I'm looking like this, and I'm thinking, what's happening here, man? These people coming up out of the water. One of the ladies in our church was one of the women on the TV, she tells me, you know, now. And so I'm sitting there watching this program, and I'm looking at this thing happening, and all of a sudden, in here, I start laughing, right down, you know. And so I'm looking at my parents. I said to Mum and Dad, hey, listen, I don't know really what's happening here. I don't know if this is a flashback from the acid or anything, but something's going down. Got up, left the room, went and sat in the rubbish bin outside in the backyard. Carol joined me in about 3 minutes, you know. So there were all these kind of major hits, man, just coming from nowhere, eh? I had nothing to do with them. Wasn't like me saying, hey, come on, do it to me one more time, you know. It was like involuntary. And to me now, I can see it was just like God saying, hey, catch a bit of this, man, you know. And then eventually we sat down with a minister and his wife, who at first meeting them, I was still aggressive, man. I mean, I just didn't like the way he was dressed. I wanted to punch him over. He really annoyed me. His wife was sitting on the floor. It looked like she should have had corgis around her. You know, it's got the whole colour culture, you know, sort of looking up at you, you know. But I managed to overcome the desire to, you know, to do something physically, you know. And I sat there, and he just told me and Carol about Jesus Christ. And I knew what he said was registering. And then he said to me, after he told me the story and everything about Jesus Christ and what he did, etc., he said to me, well, what do you think? And I said to him, well, where else have I got to go? Because it was like I tried all the stuff or whatever, and this was staring me right in the face. Other people had presented other things to me, but this to me registered strongly somehow with my heart, you know. And so that night, I became a Christian, and so did my wife, well, it was my girlfriend then, excuse me. And I left that place, mate, and I knew that I was a different man. It was so powerful that I remember going to a takeaway bar at up the corner of where the Carrington Hospital is, of all places, you know, right on the corner there. Went in there to get a burger, and there were just all these people in the shop, and I found myself just smiling at them. You know, just kind of, I wanted to go up and meet them, you know, just sort of say, g'day, how's it going? I'm Evan, you know. And it was just something had happened, mate, powerful on the inside. I couldn't, there's no way I could make it up. And that has stayed with me for, what's that, 23 years? Something like that now? Or a bit longer?
This,
mate.
I mean, it sort of is a cutting out of things, but it's this now. We've got a church here, which is a cafe, which is a rock. It's a soul
like
club.
A club, yeah.
What's this? What is this? Is this a church?
This is a church. At the moment, it's looking a bit messy because we're getting ready for the launch tonight at 8 o'clock. But it's normally like this. We've got about a 6-piece band, something like that plays here. Sunday mornings at 10:30. Sunday night we do an acoustic thing, which is like an unplugged thing. I preach here. Just go for it, you know, and leap off here and just generally, you know, have, you know,
the stage diving.
Yeah, have fun, mate. Just have fun, and they're a responsive people. This came out of me and Carol being in Wellington for a couple of years, and feeling that we were to come back to Auckland and to start something new, something that was different, something new. I mean, not even different, but just something new was the word, you know.
Who comes here?
Just a whole range of people. Just a whole range of people. People that haven't known anything about Christianity, that have come here and been moved by the music, moved by the preaching, moved by the people, and their compassion for them or whatever, and their lives have been changed. People that are looking for a different church culture. They want to get away from the pews. They want to get away from the set traditional thing. And that's what we've got here. We don't compromise, or I don't think we do. I don't think we compromise the word. I don't think we compromise the scriptures or the gospel at all. It's just packaged differently. And this is my culture. This is me, man. This place is me, you know.
And I suppose the CD's you, because obviously the new CD is really a song, tuneful encyclopedia following of your life.
Yeah, the CD is melodic, the CD is soulful, the CD is bluesy, but when we say bluesy, it's not blues, whoa man, I'm so down, you know. It's blues with a story, but something that's going to lift you up from being down, you know. So songs like Keeping the Faith Alive, you know. I have a story that I just got to tell, you know. Don't try to hold me down or stand in my way, I'm on a mission with God, you know. That kind of stuff, you know, keeping the faith alive. And yeah, so it's a whole positive thing. This place is just a powerful experience. People crying when they're singing the songs, you know, just stuff happening.
Your CD, is it your own stuff?
Yeah, written. Yeah, I've written since the early '70s, and been developing that, you know. But this stuff here, I feel like that there's maturity. You know, I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, who I did, or the other week, who I do a lot of sessions for. I worked for about 7 years in the studio, and we met up and spent about 3 hours together, you know. And we had a beer together and talked about old times and played this down, and he really loved it. And obviously there's a lot of the, you know, that whole R&B soul thing is in there. And we were talking about our songwriting, and he was saying, you know, it's really developed, you know. And I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with it.
It's I mean, it would be wrong to describe it as a gospel CD. It's nothing like that.
No, it's the gospel's in there, in that there are songs called like Cool Water. You know, Spirit's burning down in my heart, fire of God with a righteous spark, you know. It's stuff like that, you know. I'm holy, holy, the angels say, I can see heaven raining on me today, you know. It's stuff like that. So it's not in your face, somebody saying, oh, you know, you heathen, or you know, it's just messages that are you know, easy to digest with a really good band playing, you know, good feels, Motown-y, soul-y thing, you know. Yeah.
Sounds great.
That's the one.
Okay, well,
because they got the same passion, you know. And they both got churches and stuff. So Takapuna here, he was doing a live thing, just playing a big grand, and he had about 4 girls with him. 4.
he was here.
Yeah, he was here. He did just some kind of a seminar with some drummer or some Motown guy.
Yeah, isn't that great? Because it means you have to listen to me, and I can talk about nothing. But I'll tell you, it's funny because I've got
a culture of the music in the church, and you know, don't hold them down. Let them go. Let them express themselves, because that can just enhance the church. Yeah. You know, bring the flavour into the church that's missing. You know, if there's death in the place, you want life, mate. So, you know, same with the creative people, arty people. You know, like the girl that did the banner there. Sarah, you know, I mean, she's just great. That's the Harbour Bridge and all that. And we were going to have, we've got stuff coming up for all around the walls. What's that?
Oh, sorry, he said just keep looking here as opposed to pointing around. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so he's just getting some other shots, I think.
So, you know, we're creating that whole art thing, you know, and so we don't want to hold people down. We want to say, hey, if that's your thing, develop it, run with it for 100. And we don't push or chase, you see. So I mean, if you're pushing chase about, if you had a mission statement, in a sense or whatever, it would be that we trust that when people come here, they either like it or they don't. You know, they either relate to something here or they don't. So if they do, then they're going to hang around.
No, hold on, I'm sprinting.
Okay.
Okay, stand by. Quiet, please.
Well, I will cry out for your mercy. Well, I will cry out for your grace. Well, I will cry out for your power and the faith to run the race. I got to have you in my life. This I know I must confess. You will not leave my soul in trouble. You will not leave me in the dark. Oh no. You will not leave me in temptation. You will heal my broken heart. I got to have you in my life. This I know I must confess. Oh, and you will be there just when I need you. You will be there. If I should fall, you will deliver me from my enemy. And I will cry, you hear me call and see me lean on this great power. Well, I will cry out for your mercy. I want to cry out for your grace. I will cry out for your power and the faith to run the race. I got to have you in my life. This I know I must confess. Oh, 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 oh. I gotta have you. Well, I just got to have you. I just got to have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you.
And count to 3 and go.
1, 2, 3. Well, I will cry out for your mercy. Well, I will cry out for your grace. Well, I will cry out for your power and the faith to run the race. I got to have you in my life. This I know I must confess. You will not leave my soul in trouble. You will not leave me in the dark. You will not leave me in temptation. You will heal my broken heart. Oh yeah. I got to have you in my life. This I know I must confess. You will be there just when I need you. You will be there. If I should fall, you will deliver me from my enemy. And I will cry, hear me call and see me lean on his great power. Well, I will cry out for your mercy. I want to cry out for your grace. I will cry out for your power and the faith to run the race. Woo-hoo. I got to have you in my life. Yes, I know I must confess. Oh, I gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. Gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you. In my life, gotta have you, gotta have you, gotta have you.
Of music. Keep the passion alive. Keep the hammering alive. Okay. Yep. Yes. Take your chin around where he wants it, eh? Yeah. Peace. Very good. Here.